Isn't it amazing? I agree. I mean, when we had no money, we had just as much, if not more fun.
Yeah, when we had that tiny apartment right next to his office.
Yeah, you have to get creative in how you have fun. You can't just pay for an expensive vacation. You gotta
Right.
Okay, so Zoe, what was your biggest lesson you learned from watching your dad go through that? I can't imagine seeing him go to prison and then probably the gossip in the town and all of that. I mean, what did you learn?
My dad was an amazing father. Just, I want to say that as well. He was absolutely just on top of being a great parent and loving us and bringing us up the right way. He never really intended to get himself into what he got himself into, the trouble he got himself into. But I think the biggest lesson I learned from it is his accountability was off. He excluded my mom from the stuff that he was getting into, trying to raise funds and do all this stuff, running a business. And then one bad decision kind of led to another because he didn't really have the accountability to keep him straight on the first decision that kind of opened up the can of worms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's been one of the biggest things I've taken into my marriage with Michelle is that trust factor and that accountability with her, making sure that we're on the same page with everything financially is huge. Unfortunately, my dad went through a lot of heartache for those lessons to come out, but at the end of the day, I'm also glad that it did happen. God works things out together for the good. I feel like the lessons that not only myself but my whole family has learned from what he went through is really priceless. But that I would say that's the main thing is you got to have the team. First off, stay in your lane. Do things that you can do, but then get educated and then make sure that whoever it is that is your partners, your spouse, whoever it is, that they're in on what you're doing and keep that consistent throughout everything you're trying to do with your business or with your finances. And then, if you keep that accountability there, I think it saves you from getting into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're an investor, there needs to be that accountability too. So, don't invest in a person, just an individual. There needs to be audits or some kind of bookkeeping to make sure that that person is staying on track. I've seen it happen over and over again where a good person made a bad decision but didn't know how to be upfront about it, tried to cover it up with other deals, and it turns into this Ponzi scheme and they don't know how to pull themselves out. Whereas really a little honesty is all you need. I think people understand.
Absolutely. And sometimes making that call, even after you have made a mistake, it may not be too late. As long as you do actually become honest with whoever it is that you need to be honest and have those people in place that will call you out and hold you accountable, hold your hand through that. I think that's really important too.
So, again, Zoe, I'm going to ask you because I just think it's so fascinating that, you watched your dad go through that and then you were the financial manager for your brother who made it big in the NBA and all the attention and all the sharks that are attracted to that. I mean, what's the biggest lesson you learned from being in that scenario? Because whether you're just starting out or you're very wealthy, man, investing is just it's shark infested. So you obviously experienced it. What was the big lesson there?
Yeah, I'd say with my brother, it's really about educating yourself. That's one of the sad things for a lot of guys that go to the NBA, and this is something my brother and I have talked about, kind of wanting to give back in a way to be able to educate young players that come into the NBA eventually, being able to have some kind of curriculum for them. But, we were so young when my brother was initially playing or, was picked up by the NBA team. He was picked up by the Warriors 2007. And we didn't know what we were doing, but we had a whole bunch of money in our hands to do something with, and that's just a really scary combination.
Right.
So I think it's just a matter of you have to find a way to get people in your camp that you can trust, but then also educate yourself on what needs to be done with the money if you're trying to invest it, and then know where the sharks are coming from, know where the scammers are coming from, and just know how to say no. And sometimes it's saying no to people that you care about and people that you love. That's one of the toughest things. But at the end of the day, you just got to be educated. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of young players come into professional sports without. It's just that education. College doesn't really do it for them. Some of them don't even finish college, and then the only people around them are really people that are just wanting to help them spend the money. not really people that are wanting to show them and educate them how to invest it wisely. And so obviously real estate is a great investment for a lot of people, but even real estate, if you don't know what you're doing, you can lose money in real estate, in which we experienced that as well.
You sure can.
It's about finding the right team, again, accountability, knowing who to trust, and getting educated.
Absolutely, yeah. You got it. Having too much money or too much responsibility before having education is a recipe for disaster because every deal looks good. But playing that cash flow game is a great way to learn. That's fantastic, too. All right. Well, what advice would you give, Michelle, to other women listening who, maybe are afraid of what their husband's doing or vice versa? In my case, husband's afraid of what the wife is doing. What would you suggest in terms of communication and getting on the same page like you did?
My husband, he's a dreamer and a believer. And so he's been so patient with me, and he kept planting the seeds with me. And I definitely believe in not doing anything that you don't understand and aren't confident in it. So just keep talking about it and say your fears, why it scares you, and learn it. We watch so many videos. So coming from a safety background, I did everything based on worst case scenario. That's how I learned to evaluate everything. And so I was doing that with all of our real estate. And so I was like, okay, what I know in my head, I'm planning for a crash, and that's how I'm going to invest. I'm investing to prevent, us from losing it all. So, yeah, I'd say that's what we did, just tons and tons of podcasts, books. And then, what was absolutely, I'm going to put a plug for you, absolutely incredible. And that built my confidence even more was we went to the Detroit Real Estate
Seminar.
Yeah, the Real Wealth Network, East Coast Seminar for Detroit. And the people that we met, besides just getting to hear from the property managers, getting to talk to all the other investors and where they invested and why and what we were doing, we got some really good advice. It was just an incredible mastermind. It was awesome. My husband's the connector, so he made some great connections for us that, are going to be longtime investor friends, and just to see what everybody's doing and how they're doing it. And, we got a few hints on some stuff. We were kind of on the border, should we do it or not do it? And we heard reasons like why or why not, even for you. We got to ask you the question about, our 401k, should we invest if they don't match, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's my number one answer is just educate yourself.
Well, thank you. It was so nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
And I agree. We have West Coast events where people get that. They get to network, meet other investors, see that they're not alone. But for people who live in other parts of the country, you don't really necessarily have that. That's why we're so excited about doing more events nationwide. But wonderful, wonderful. It's been such a pleasure to have you here on The Real Wealth Show. I'd love to have you back when you get those 14 units.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to do that.
Sure, yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again for being here. And I'm sure we'll have lots of people who would love to get in touch with you. And, maybe someday you'll be coaches for others, just like you've been coached.
Yeah, we would love that. But we got a whole bunch of things on our little vision board that we keep putting on there. So, yeah, we'll see what God's got in store. But, yeah, thanks so much for having us. We really enjoy it. And again, thanks for what you guys do. A lot of what we've learned has been because of what you guys have instilled with your programs and with the Real Wealth Network. So it's a huge value. So definitely thank you for that.
Yeah,
and
keep up the good work.
Keep up the good work.
And the whole entire Real Wealth Network.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh gosh, Detroit wasn't that different than you maybe thought. That city's come around.
I know. We had a blast. We went out a couple nights downtown, and I felt safer than I felt downtown Denver. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could feel the vibe in the air. You could feel the vibe and the rebound of the area, and it's definitely a good thing going there.
Part of me wants to keep it quiet until we get all of our
right,
and then be like, okay, now tell everybody.
Right, I agree. Well, thanks again, and we hope to see you soon.
All right, Kathy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for listening to me and Michelle and Zoe here on The Real Wealth Show. You can find out more about how to build a cash-flowing rental portfolio at realwealthshow.com. You'll find lots of free information and education, and you can even book an appointment with one of our investment counselors. Once again, that's realwealthshow.com. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.